Good morning, everybody. It is Thursday morning, New Year's Eve. I am out in the main garage. I'll be getting over to the shop here shortly, and I'll start working on the record crate again. But I'm out in the main garage because, well, it's New Year's Eve, and we have taken down, I say we, my wife has taken down 99% of the decorations and packed them back into plastic bins. So before I get to go into the shop and start working on my crate, I've got to take care of this one little chore. Shouldn't take me long. I'm going to sweep the garage, then we're going to bring everything out. We're going to sort it, stack it, put it away, and then we're going to get back to that record crate. Wow. You know how you have a job and you think, yeah, this isn't going to take long. I can knock it out in a half an hour. And it takes like way longer than a half an hour. Yeah, that was that job over there. And it's not quite finished yet. I've got a few things to do. Beyond that, the garage has been swept. The boxes have all been cut up and shoved into another box so they can go out with the recycle. All of the wrapping paper is in a bag. Everything is cleaned up. The garage looks great. And as soon as she gets back from what she's doing, we can kind of talk through some of this. She kind of has a way she likes it stacked. And since the Christmas decorations are something she takes great pride in, I'm going to let her call the shots on that, and I'm just going to put them, where she wants them. So later today, it'll be finished. But I'm going to head back into the shop and get started on these slats for my boxes. I thought about it last night, and I initially thought, well, I could split these. That's a lot of extra work to go through. I think what I'm going to do is dig through my router bits and find a nice round over bit and just try to round those over. If I can't find one, I guess I could always use my sander. I could set that up and just kind of move the table on the other side and then round them by hand. They wouldn't be perfect, but they would be, good enough to, to clean that. I just don't want that sharp edge. When you walk by, it catches you on the pant leg, or, if you're in shorts, it might scratch your leg. I don't want anything like that, or the opportunity for that to kind of splinter up if it gets bumped. So we're gonna round those over. Then we'll get them all sanded up nice and neat. And at that point, I think I'll go ahead and cut a plain insert. I'll cut 2 inserts for these. I'll probably go ahead and stain them both. I was getting ready to say I'll cut a plain insert so I can stain it at the same time, but I may as well stain both the inserts, and then we just won't install them until we assemble the box. So hopefully we get everything cleaned up, cut to size, sanded, and at least a coat of stain on it today, and then maybe tomorrow we can come back out and do the assembly. And we're going to assemble this. I initially wanted to use dowels, but I don't have them. I got tons of screws, so we're going to go ahead and use screws. I'll countersink them. I'll put glue on the boards so they stick together nice, and then I'll shoot a screw into each of the slats. These things ought to be sturdy as heck, inch thick. They've got 2.5-inch deck screws. Those big thick ones, the nice ones, that self-tapper type is what I use to put those together. So they ought to be sturdy as heck. The thing I'm worried about is I'm going to have a 20-inch opening. I'm not sure how heavy that's going to be, because if you've ever lifted records, they're pretty heavy. So I'm anxious to get this one built, get the records put in it, take it into the house, load it up, and see, is 20 inches of records too much? Should I back that down to 16 inches, or just make it shorter, because I don't want all that weight. So I still have, I've got the information. I don't have a plan drawn for these, but I've got notes on lengths and what I did in my little book. The trick is, do I want to shorten them? And the other thought that I had is, I talked about having one underneath of the of like a table where there's one on top. I may just put the large one on top and make a smaller one that's, say, 12, 14 inches that you could pull out and make it stackable on top of that one. Because if that one's at waist height and you put it just a little bit higher, that's really not that inconvenient for searching for records. So, we may just make the first one permanent, and then the one under will be removable. We'll see how it goes. Like I said, I have no plan. I'm just making this as I go because it's more fun that way. So I'll keep you posted on what happens. I got my slats routed. I went ahead and routed all 4 corners, and I've run them across my table sander here, and I've smoothed out the top, bottom, and both of the sides. The only thing I really couldn't do was the curve. It looks really smooth if you look at it from the router bit, but I'm just going to take some sandpaper, and by hand, I'm just going to run it along there just to kind of soften that up a little bit. Make sure there's no little burrs or fuzzies or anything. That won't take long. And then the next thing I'm going to do is we're going to go ahead and drill our holes at the same exact spot in each one of these. So I'll set up some type of a jig on my drill press, and then we'll get each of these holes drilled out and countersunk and ready for screws. And the reason why I want to do that is since I'll be assembling this, you know, the very last thing I do is assemble it. I don't want to drill after I've stained and then a little chip of wood comes out and then you notice it because, you know, it's this color as opposed to the blue. So we'll get our holes drilled and, then after we drill the holes, I'll work on cutting the inserts for those. We'll sand those down quickly. At that point, we should be ready to stain everything. A clamp, a few pieces of scrap wood, and some hot glue. And I've got a great little jig that will let me drill a perfectly centered hole on every one of my slats. That little jig did a nice job. Take a look, perfect holes. Both ends. Everything is stained. I'm happy with how this turned out. You can see I put the stain on. It was actually that dark pigment that was on the outside is how it looks when it goes on. So I painted each piece or stained each piece with a sponge brush, and then I immediately wiped it off with an old washcloth, and it gave a really nice effect. This is going to look super awesome when it's put together. And also over here, while I was at it, I went ahead and cut my Lexan pieces out. I got 2 pieces there. So next up, I just need to find all those CD covers so that way as I assemble this, because probably the first thing I'll do, I'm guessing, is put the CD covers on one of the blue pieces and then mount it inside of one of the frames. I think it'd be easier to mount before I put the slats on. So that's, I don't know, we'll see how that goes. But man, I couldn't be happier. So far, so good. There's only one thing I don't like, and I'll show you what that is. See that screw right there? They're yellow. You can see the screws. I think what I'm gonna do is I have got some acrylic paints. I think I'm gonna pull out some of the acrylic paints, see if I have to put a little white in it or something to kind of tone it down a little bit. I don't know what color blues I have, and just take a little brush and just touch those 8 screws up so they don't show. And then of course, when I put the other screws on the side, they'll all have to be touched up as well. But I don't think that'd be too big of a deal. Matter of fact, now that I think about it, the screws on the top and the bottom of the side of the frames, they're gonna be covered by a slide anyway, so you won't see them. Okay, well, just one more step in the process. We'll figure it out as we go. That is it for me today. I'm calling it quits. You guys have a great evening. I will see you again tomorrow when we will hopefully assemble this crate. Take care. Have a great evening. Bye-bye.